Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Wistrcill.
I'm JT Wistrcill.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of From the Couch. Here we are talking NFL Week 3. Some of the teams are 3-0. Some are 0-3, but we won't get into that
Wow.
yet. Sorry for the shot there. Anyway, Week 3, 5 takeaways from the weekend. We've chosen some different games, some different angles to go at. And I'll turn it over to my NFL insider, JT, who's always plugged into what's going on around the league. So what do you got? What's your first takeaway from Week 3?
Chiefs offense is just unstoppable right now. You can tell they're playing free, way of the Super Bowl off, just going out there having fun. Andy Reid digging deep into his playbook, throwing Eric Fisher a touchdown pass, getting the fullback involved with a type of shovel pass. Get the one play where Mahomes looks left, looks right, throws it down the middle to Kelsey. The embarrassing wealth of riches of weapons they have, and Edwards-Helaire was awesome. Mahomes is so good. The Chiefs offense, unbelievable. And when it comes to the Ravens, it's just they blitz the most in the NFL. And the Mahomes against the blitz was unbelievable tonight. And he just dissected them all night long. And Lamar struggled. They should have gone. They had 2nd and 2 early, and they decided to throw it 2 plays in a row after getting all their yards rushing on their very first drive.
Yeah, they marched all the way down the field, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were, and after that, they passed 2 plays in a row to kick a field goal. Game wasn't the same again. And the Ravens will be scratching their heads, but this Chiefs offense, unstoppable.
Yeah, they are. In fact, I thought about that as I was kind of watching the game about how good the Chiefs are. You know, how historically great are they?
I know.
And, it's hard for me to tell. I mean, this is only Mahomes' 3rd year? Mm-hmm. And that's so they haven't even peaked yet. That's the crazy thing. But they do make people look silly, and they make it look a little too easy. So I won't say they're historically one of the best offenses ever, because what typically happens, I was sharing this with you earlier, is even the greatest show on turf, the Rams, who just set all types of records for yards and points, I mean, and won a Super Bowl, but the defenses adjusted and eventually caught up to them. Caught up to their scheme, and then they weren't worthless, but they just were never once as good as they were. And so I'd like to see a couple of years more. I mean, they don't have to win the Super Bowl both those years to be historically great, but they need to be like in the AFC Championship game and that type of thing. If their defense can hold up, they're going to be really hard to beat
Chris
at
Jones
all.
was really good tonight.
And, you always look at them and say, you look at a team like that and say, God, they could be undefeated. And they could be. I mean, they're legitimately that good. But I think their defense will give up enough points some game. I think Mahomes will throw a couple turnovers, and they'll lose to some good teams down the road. But right now, they play the Patriots are up next. They go to the Bills in 3 weeks.
Ooh.
That's like their first test in my mind.
It should have been tonight.
It should have been tonight. You're right.
They aced it.
It should have been tonight, but they go to the Bills in 3 weeks. I guess we'll wait until then, because they'll waltz through their next opponents in my mind. So, all right. Second takeaway from the weekend. What do you got?
Let's talk about those Bills. How about Josh Allen, those Bills? They jump out to a huge 28-3 lead. The defense blows it, which is a little concerning, but we've seen a lot of good from the defense in the past, so not too concerned about them. Also think the Rams are a really good team this year. Love what McVay's done. We've talked about that before. But then Josh Allen, after his team lit up that lead, to give his team the 4th quarter comeback drive to step up in that moment and throw that touchdown pass. He completed a 3rd and 22 also in this game, had 4 touchdown passes and the game winner. It's hard to do. I think the Bills are legit, and it's because of the steps that Josh Allen has taken, and the addition of Stephon Diggs has been huge. I know me as a Minnesota Vikings fan, I desperately miss him. So love what the Bills are all about right now, and I think they're really good. And then in the driver's seat to win the AFC North.
Pretty amazing that we're saying that.
I just messed that up. It's the AFC East.
It is the AFC East.
Yeah.
That is correct. Speaking of the AFC North, though, because I know that's what you're thinking. Let's talk about those Steelers for a little bit.
No way. I didn't see this coming.
I know, it's a surprise. So they're 3-0. They've been good. They have not been great, but they find ways to win because their defense, they made great adjustments at halftime and basically shut down the Texans. They had like 60 yards of total offense in the whole second half, the Texans did. So, when you can do things defensively like that, you can make up for some questionable things. Our pass defense has to be better. We gave up too many yards early to Deshaun. And that we play the Titans next. I'm not really afraid of their passing game, and we have the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL. So I like that. I like that matchup, but I think it'll still be a tough game.
Yeah.
I think we do. I think we win. I think we win our next 2 after that. I think we're undefeated. We play at the Ravens in 4 weeks. And so I like the start. I like the confidence. Ben's coming around. He made some really impressive throws. And so I think luckily we still got some time to build into that. I don't expect us to be undefeated or anything, but I like where we're rolling. And I think us against the Ravens, I think those will be 2 great games to decide who wins the AFC North.
Yeah, I think it's the best rushing team in the NFL versus the best run defense, and the second best would be the Titans as well, so that'll be fun. And you don't have to worry about the Titans passing game unless you're the Minnesota Vikings, and let Khalif Raymond, if you know who that is, bonus points, go off and beat you.
That's pretty bad.
Embarrassing.
Not many people could named him, so.
I could.
All right, let's talk about number 3. Who you got for number 3?
Nick Foles. How about him?
Nick Foles.
Doing what he's always done. Stepping up when a high draft pick struggles, goes down with injury in Wentz's case, and being the star and taking over. Leading his team from a comeback. They were down 10-26. Of course, it was against the Atlanta Falcons, who I can't believe they did it in back-to-back weeks. Their season's over. Dan Quinn's time is done there. It's embarrassing that it continues to happen. They continue to blow these leads. But, it's just got to give Foles credit. He comes in, his very first drive, he throws what should have been a touchdown pass. That was the one, I believe it was to Anthony Miller or Allen Robinson, and the defender ended up wrestling it away from him late. Unbelievable play. But, ever since he stepped in there, Foles looked awesome. He looked to be in command. He was in sync with the receivers. And I think Matt Nagy likes what Foles can do more because I think he's a better thrower of the football than Trubisky is. Trubisky won the job, but I think Foles and Nagy fit better together as that QB coach connection. So the Bears 3-0 and a good 3-0, and they'll have a chance to make the playoffs now.
So I wanted to talk about Nick Foles too, just because. So I don't know if you're watching the ticker a little bit ago, but he was named the starter.
He was.
Now.
Yep.
He will be the starter. I think, unfortunately, the Trubisky experiment is done now.
I know.
I think they've given him enough chances. I think Foles is the starter the rest of the year. They might sneak into that playoff spot that I had the Vikings pegged for out of the NFC North. And although I'm going to wait and see. I'll wait and see on the Bears to see if they can do it. But I was reminded again I'm watching Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
I'm watching Deshaun Watson yesterday light up my Steelers in the first half, and I'm thinking, who was asleep at the wheel when they drafted Mr. Trubisky instead of those two? Did they look that bad on film? I remember watching Mahomes. He was at Texas Tech, and you saw the unbelievable arm strength. You saw what Deshaun Watson did. They only won the national title, right?
Yes, over Alabama.
So I guess I'm like, did I miss something? The Bears, you get what you get, but credit to Nick Foles. That's an amazing story. It was almost like when he got sent in the game, we were watching on the red zone, got sent in, and my first thought in my mind was like, he's not going to do it again. It happens too many times. Well, guess what? He did it again. And there's something about his quiet confidence, and he just makes great plays. So it's a quarterback's league, and when your quarterback's playing well, you got a chance. And he played well. So credit to him, although I think there's a long ways to go for the Bears. I'm not ready to send them to the playoffs yet.
I said I think they got a good shot.
Yeah.
But I thought they would.
Like I said, you're over 50%. I'm less than 50%. So there we go. Okay, number 4. Let's go to number 4. What do you got?
I got the Seahawks and the Cowboys. Would this be an NFL recap if I didn't gush about Russell Wilson? The Seahawks are letting Russ cook, and it's exactly what he's doing. Another game with 5 touchdown passes. He has 14 through the first 3 games, the most ever through a 3-game stretch to start the season in NFL history, passing 2018's Patrick Mahomes' amazing rookie season. But it's just, he does it. He should have 6, by the way, when DK Metcalf burned Trevon Diggs, Stefon's brother, and he punched it out the back like that. Metcalf will never make that mistake again, but him and Tyler Lockett were in sync all day. Greg Olsen made some big plays for them, too. When you talk about Russell Wilson and Greg Olsen, talk about some football IQs right there. Those guys are awesome. Love what the Seahawks are doing. I don't think it's time to panic about the Cowboys. Division stinks. And they put up a ton of points, which Seattle's defense is concerning. I'm still on the Cowboys. I thought Dak was pretty good, just made a couple of mistakes. So Seahawks and Russell continue to do it.
Cowboys are tied for the division lead at 1-2 with the football team.
Yeah.
So, yes, the amazing thing is the Cowboys, while they're going to play some difficult games, they also, as I look at this here, have 6 layups against the other 3 teams this year. So they're going to win the division. I think Max Kellerman, I heard him talking this morning about how incredibly average they are.
Yeah.
Just a little above average, and that's what I look when I see the Cowboys. I don't see them threatening to be in the Super Bowl this year. like everything, but I also don't like them. So
yeah, I thought you were going to bring up what Max Kellerman actually suggested today was that they should trade Carson Wentz for Phillip Rivers if this continues, which I think is ridiculous. Or Stephen A would say blasphemous.
trade Carson Wentz
for Phillip Rivers.
Okay, so you switched to talking about the Eagles now?
That's what he said.
Oh, okay, I got you. I was talking about him
talking
about the Cowboys.
I thought you were talking about ludicrous things.
No, I was just talking about the Cowboys there. So, anyway, so my next thing is I'm going to talk about your Minnesota Vikings for a little bit here. So, they should have been a playoff team. I really did. I was with you. I thought they'd sneak in as a wild card. I didn't think they'd win the division.
Still are.
And that they probably will be 0-5.
Oh.
They play at the Texans and at the Seahawks. I don't see them winning either of those games. I'm sorry. Luckily, the Falcons come to Minnesota in 3 weeks. So I think they can get a win. I think they can be 1-5. They're probably not making the playoffs. There's lots of problems with the teams, but I'm going to give you 2 stats that pretty much summarize what. There are 32 teams in the NFL, JT. They're 30th in team defense. They're 31st in scoring defense. The bottom line is playoff teams don't finish down there on the defensive end that bad. And so it's really sad to think they've got still some really good parts of their defense. Now, they lost some key players, especially putting pressure on the quarterback. So they're not doing that.
Xavier Rhodes.
But you can't be 31st in scoring defense and expect much to happen there. So I'm sorry about your Vikings. Probably going to be 0-5. But again, Falcons in 3 weeks, so there's your chance at a victory.
That's the hopeful one. D tackles have been horrible. Young corners haven't stepped up. I mean, you have the head coach, like you just said, all those defensive stats, and yet the head coach still throws the offense under the bus at the end of the game when you score plus 30. Ridiculous embarrassment, and it'll be interesting to see how the season unfolds. I'm still holding out for 10-6 as a very biased, hopeful Vikings fan.
I think it's sad that you've stopped wearing your Viking. You're not your Houston Rockets shirt tonight for the show. So I see you've given up on your Viking stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Last one. What do you got? Number 5.
I would like to say this was just because Patrick Mahomes, I think he has a rocket arm, and I was really cheering for him tonight, so I know it's a stretch of a connection.
Yeah,
but that's why I went with the Rockets.
Very stretch.
Anyways.
Okay.
Let's shift to the good team in the NFC North, and it's not the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions. Surprise win for Detroit, though. It's the Packers. I mean, they're terrifying, and more than anything, it's Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. They are in sync, and they are cooking. 3 touchdown passes for Rodgers, 283 yards, and it was without Devontae Adams, against a really good Saints defense. His receivers were Alan Lazard, who had a great game. Then you have Robert Tonyan, who was a tight end. Never heard of him before last night. Jay Sternberger, who was a backup tight end they drafted in the draft a couple years ago. And Valdez Scantling, who was supposed to be good and had like 6 yards, I believe.
So you're saying I got a chance to be a receiver in the NFL?
Exactly.
I can catch some balls.
You could be Robert Tonyan. You guys look the same. He's ball too.
Amazing.
So, yeah, he's just doing it with nothing. The one thing they do, give him tons of time. Protection's great. Aaron Jones.
You just said doo-doo, by the way.
I did.
The one thing that they do.
Aaron Jones is an awesome running back as well. So, give the Packers their credit. LaFleur, the defense is pretty good. Zadarius Smith made a huge play in that game with the strip sack on Taysom Hill late. And for the Saints, Kamara is unbelievable. The touchdown catch, amazing. But Drew Brees can't go deep. And that defense, which I heard some people say was like, oh, this is going to be like Peyton Manning's 2015 Broncos. They'll carry him. You don't give up 30 points like this as routinely as they have 2 weeks. They didn't give up 30 against the Raiders, but didn't look very good. So Packers look really good.
So I'm now a believer that the Packers executives know exactly what they're doing. That they drafted Jordan Love to put a little firecracker up A-Rod's butt. And now he looks like the best him and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
They look like clearly the 2 best quarterbacks in. Aaron Rodgers, people were like, he's dropping off a little bit, even though I think they played in the NFC Championship game last year.
Yeah.
So
they didn't show up, though.
No, they didn't. Their defense has gotten a little better. They can run the ball, which is always the key for a quarterback. Mm-hmm. If you can run the ball, then if you become multi-dimensional. And then you have, in my mind, probably the greatest arm in NFL history, and still looking like it's young and strong. Very impressed with A-Rod. So, all right. So my last one was I'm going to the toughest division in the NFL. I'm going to the NFC West, where the Seahawks are 3-0, but the Cardinals, Rams, and Niners are all 2-1. I'm going to the 49ers. And here's what I'm thinking. They flew out last weekend from San Francisco to New York and played the Jets. And yeah, they won, but they lost 6 starters to injury. They fly back home for the week. They got to fly back to New York to play the Giants. I didn't think they'd win the game. I thought, the Giants are going to rise up. They're going to play better. The Niners are down. They got no talent. I couldn't tell you who their starting quarterback is or who he threw any touchdowns to in the game. Mm-hmm. But all I know is they won on the road. They forced 3 turnovers. They play in the toughest division. They have the Eagles and Dolphins at home next. They're going to be 4-1. The Niners are. I think they're going to beat the Eagles and Dolphins at home. Then they host the Rams. And so then it gets a little tougher. But credit to who you think is the best coach in the NFL, right? At the Niners, right?
I mean, I know it's Belichick, but best play caller by far, I think, is Shanahan. He's next level.
So best play caller, you're saying. So they've got him. They've got nobody. I mean, they're missing the studs out there, and they're still winning. So credit to them. They've outscored their opponents by 41 points in 3 games, the 49ers. So I got to give them credit. Not a huge fan, but they're playing. So there's our big takeaways for the week. Another exciting, and as you mentioned, next week we're a quarter of the way through the season, which is crazy. So we'll look forward to more football.
Quarter closer to Trevor Lawrence to the Vikings.
Trevor Lawrence to the Vikings.
I'm not on the tank for him training, but it is. I mean, hey, if it continues,
you might as well dream. Yeah, so that's great. Well, I hope you'd enjoyed joining us to talk as we talk through Week 3 in the NFL on another edition of From the Couch. We'll see you next time.